Please while I confirm your passcode. Thank you. Your passcode is confirmed. Please enter your personal identification number or PIN, followed by the pound or hash key. When you tone, you will be the 8th person to join the meeting.
We're having a sunny day here. I love it.
Yeah. I'm jealous. Living in New Jersey.
I know. I saw on the news all those floods. For you guys.
Yeah, a lot of rain.
Yeah.
Bedford, where I am, it's very mild.
Well, that's nice, and we're hoping for this weather to shape up and have some spring here. So is break coming up sometime soon here?
Next week it came.
Okay.
Next week off as well.
Okay. I think somebody's on this week. I had a note, and I can't remember who from, but they were going to be on break.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello, Tara.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
How are you doing?
Make sure I'm on here. I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Diane. Yeah, we're in.
Getting set up. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we're just getting set up. We'll have another 5 minutes to get going. So your semester going good?
Very good. Very good. Halfway through now.
Yeah. And do you graduate in May?
I can May, but then I have to make sure that I'm done with my thesis, and I also have 120 clinical hours left to complete by August. So I'm not really done, but
yeah. But you're getting ends in sight. Yeah, right.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
All righty. So your semester's wrap, is it?
We're about halfway done, so we're getting towards the end.
Yeah. Okay. I think you guys graduate in August as well, right?
We'll be done in May.
May. Okay.
So a little bit closer.
Okay. Job lined up?
In the process, I have a couple things that my pen and stuff that I just have to wait and see how it develops.
Okay, Christine. Hey, and do you have a job lined up?
I have a couple of leads as well, but nothing definite yet.
Okay. And hi, Erin. And how about you? Do you have a?
Like everyone else, I have a couple leads and a couple. Oh, let me know when you graduate, but nothing definite.
Okay. Well, how about you? Michelle, job lined up yet? Or Tara, that's you?
Not yet. I have a couple of, when you're all completed type of things and, networking things going on, but confirm.
Okay. We're wishing you. Okay, everybody. We're glad to have you back for another Collaborative Community webinar. And our topic today is making a smooth transition to the faculty role. And, we thought this would be an appropriate topic here toward the end of the semester. And I was just chatting with quite a few of you. You're kind of in the process of some leads for getting a position. But I want to talk with you today about what it's going to be like when you have that job, and give you some heads up about what to do. And I'm going to introduce Valera Haskip in just a minute, but I thought it would be really fabulous to have somebody who has just completed their first year as a faculty member. You'll have to understand that it's been years and years ago since I did it the very first time, but I've certainly been watching my colleagues as they've come on board, and I well know that there's challenges and things that we need to learn about, and we can help you make some smoother transitions by giving you some heads up. So here we go. And I think everybody's in. And you know, if we don't have that phone by you, then you're still not quite connected with us. But it looks like everybody's getting pretty well connected, and we're going to have everybody on mute, so everybody should be muted right now. And just a reminder, when you want to ask, you know, a question or respond to something, raise your hand, and we'll try to keep an eye on that. And this time we're going to do some polling questions. So, you know, we're going to use your mouse to click on the answer, and we'll put the poll questions. They'll show up in that little right-hand box in the lower right-hand screen, so you'll see that. So that's what we've got going for today, and just here a quick session review, and then I'm going to introduce Valera. So we're going to talk about you know, challenges and opportunities. We wanted to be sure that, you know, again, that you know, kind of prepared for walking into this first job, and we're, you know, it's stressful, and Valera's going to give you some tips about, you know, how to find that balance between, you know, working and balancing family life and all the other things that we do. You're doing now as a student, but it doesn't end. And one of the things that you can really to you is to have a mentor, so we'll talk a little about that. And I know you guys have been thinking and talking about doctoral education, but we want to, you know, bring that to your attention again. And Valera, because she's just recently been through the process, is going to be a fabulous resource for you, and she'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll wrap up. So I'm going to get us going, starting with introducing Valera Haskell, and she's a doctoral candidate. And Valera, when are you defending your dissertation again?
March 29th at 9 a.m.
Well, we're sending positive thoughts to you on that
please do.
day.
Yes.
Time.
Soothing thoughts.
Yeah. And Valera is an assistant professor at Kane University, and she already why we need to talk about balancing, because she's very, very busy. She's the acting coordinator at the Kane Bergen offsite campus. Also has a position at Somerset Medical Center, where she's the nurse researcher. So she's, you know, a busy lady, and but like all of us, and like you are too. So it all can be done. And Sarah, welcome, and thank you again for sharing your time with us today. And one of the reasons too I wanted you to come is so that the scholars could have somebody else to network there that's in New Jersey and who's, you know, do some of the things that this is going to be experiencing here in the next year.
Okay.
So Valera, I'm just going to turn this over to you, and I'm going to ask Tonya to give you the control of the ball in front of your name.
Okay.
So well, I'll wait until I can see that. Yep, like you have your total.
Okay.
So you can advance the slides.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Diane, for the introduction. And it's a pleasure to be here to speak with the scholars. Pardon my voice. I have a little laryngitis, residual from that upper respiratory nonsense this year. But of course, I love to mentor students, and so it's a pleasure to be here to talk to you. My experiences certainly in the first year as full-time faculty at Kane University, and talk to you about the challenges and opportunities. One of the things that I think is most important for you to keep in mind when you are certainly doing a job search and thinking about your future as looking towards doctoral education is that many institutions, and in my institution at Kane University, you are required to have the PhD in hand in order to obtain a tenure track position. I was not offered tenure track, even though I was hired last August and joined in September. I was ABD, but it was not enough to secure me that tenure track position. I received a 2-year track appointment, of course, non-renewable, non-negotiable, but I am held to the same evaluation standards as the first-year full-time tenure track faculty, which is, of course, interesting. And I have certain requirements. One is to complete the PhD within the 2 years, which I'll be done, of course, sooner than that, to have one publication accepted, which I already have, and and I think also to join a committee, which is somewhat unusual if you're not on the tenure track, but I am on the college curriculum committee, which is very interesting. The other thing, and we'll talk more about doctoral work later, but keep in mind that in certain institutions, particularly research-focused institutions, the DNP is not considered for faculty. It's not considered for faculty at Kane. We do not have a DNP track at Kane. We're more research-focused at Kane University. And so all of our faculty, full-time faculty, are PhD prepared. And again, I did mention the requirements for first-year faculty. Really, without the tenure track, you really have no stability. That's really what you want to be looking for. Also, we're required to do a reappointment portfolio, which was due in November. It was bitterly. We didn't have a lot to put in, but certainly we're able to do that.
We need everybody to be sure their lines are muted.
Wondering what happened there.
Sounds like
I thought maybe that was a new signal.
I think somebody's sounds like somebody's baby, but I think we've got the lines muted now. So thanks everybody. Okay.
And of course, some challenges, and this is just my perspective and what I encountered. Other people may encounter different things, but I had a very heavy course load last semester. I had 4 separate courses, which is a bit unusual. So I prepped for 4 different courses, and I had over 70 students combined, and about somewhere between 90 to 100 advisees. It was a lot to really juggle, and it was a little bit overwhelming for me initially. One of the things that I have a problem with, and of course, I guess a lot of us do in nursing, is that nursing seems to be the stepchild, and we don't always receive classrooms with the best technology. Usually that's the science department. So some of my classrooms were definitely lacking technological equipment, and took a bit of networking and so forth to get there what I needed. I always use PowerPoint, even though I do add a lot of extemporaneous lecture, but I feel sorry for the students if they're looking at me for hours without at least having a PowerPoint to look at or a video clip or something. One of the other challenges I faced was I was a little tired for some reason. It was a little mixed up in paperwork with HR and so forth. And due to that late hire, I really did not get my desk copies of textbooks. I didn't get the syllabi on time. So I really had to juggle a lot to get everything somewhat ready, and never quite felt that I was on top of things the whole semester, I must say. I felt that I was always behind the 8 ball because of that. And I'm very type A, and I like to really be organized and have everything arranged, and so that was a bit stressful for me. At Kane, we don't really have assignments of a full mentor. We have more informal mentoring, which is fine. Of course, I do a tremendous amount of prep work at home. I am in the office 2 full days a week, run in and out periodically, but most of my work actually is done at home. So that can be a little bit confusing, juggling files from home, computers at work. But, I do a lot of work from home. So that really translates to never really feeling totally free of academic work or student advisement. And impromptu meetings occur all of the time. So sometimes that's a little bit difficult to really schedule your life with these somewhat impromptu things. Having said that, there are many, many positives. We have extensive general mentoring and support from the Center for Professional Development, which is run by Maria Perez at Kane University. We have weekly programs for first-year faculty covering all aspects of academe expectations, how to achieve them. They establish writing groups for us. They talk to us about the tenure process, going through the portfolio, devote sessions to that. A lot of very interesting and important information for us. And, of course, they're always available. Maria is always available for advice. Of course, they provide us with a brand new laptop, which is great. And we do have a lot of administrative support within the department. We have 2 administrative assistants who are fabulous. They seem to know everything about everything. And, of course, the chair of my department, who is now executive director, they've done an organizational restructuring, if you will, within the university, has been absolutely fabulous and is always there to support you and answer questions for you. Another positive is that there was a lot of collegiality among other new faculty, and so that's very exciting. Not only collegiality with new faculty within the nursing department, also within other departments as well. And so that's really exciting to meet these other faculty members from other departments. It gives you a very nice networking capability. Of course, we have tremendous autonomy and flexibility in the teaching role, which is very exciting. I just think of that when we talk about the art and science of nursing. I think the teaching role really is the art of nursing in education. You develop your own style and so forth. We have a lot of flexibility. And we have a very professional work environment. We have outstanding library resources available to the faculty. We have extensive electronic databases and materials. The library is open extended hours. And actually, Kane University now is probably known for having one of the most extensive library databases in the state of New Jersey. So we have wonderful resources available to us, and the librarians are available to work with you individually or offer training courses as well for your students. Not how to search the database, but using EndNote Web, which is a bibliographic software. Fabulous support there. And, of course, there's tremendous satisfaction in knowing, as a professor, that I have really helped students achieve their goal and beyond anything they thought possible. So I really love that piece, and I try and certainly role model myself after my mentors that have been so instrumental in helping me achieve certainly my dream of a PhD. Very, very exciting to be part of that scholarly environment. I really love it. Challenges, of course, that one is faced with is understanding the organizational structure and culture, which is typical no matter where you work. It's the same thing in a hospital environment or long-term care. You have to understand that culture. And department culture and unit culture, they're all separate. The challenge, of course, is to keep focused on your own goals. Don't lose sight of that. And sometimes that's easy to do when we have so many things to do and we're multitasking. We take on too many assignments, and we do focus on the small stuff. Of course, we have to maintain our expertise and meet all of the expectations as well. So some of those are some of the exciting things, but challenges as well for us. Diane, I think this is you. I think I put your slides.
No, that's fine. You did. Yeah, we're great winging it there.
I was just like going on and on.
Well, while Tonya passes the ball to you, I'm going to just stop because you've done such a great job of, explaining what in the real world of teaching about. And, I was thinking when you're talking, that these are the things exactly what, our new faculty, that I've worked with, experience, and some of that, I was just laughing about, that first part of the semester, that first couple of weeks of the semester, it starts fast, and even if you're here for a long time, sometimes your assignments change at the last minute because, things change, and, that textbook, you order it in May, but doesn't show up until September.
I know.
Those are, realities, but I think it's realities of, probably any environment. But let me just ask the scholars, now would be a good time if you have questions or want Lara to elaborate on anything that she experienced here in this last year, in her first year of teaching, and then we'll talk a little bit about some tips here for doing that. So I'll just stuck in here. You guys, remember, you have to do *6 to unmute. Put your hand if you want to ask a question or make a comment. And I'll ask the faculty, too, that are here if they want to make a comment or something to, what life and the faculty. Yeah, explaining of teaching is all about.
academics, right?
Yeah. So, Dean Kinski, unmute yourself and say hi to us. Dr. Kinski? You, star 6 to unmute. Did Mary want to say something?
You're muted.
Okay, we hear you now.
Okay. I just wanted to say, there's nothing she didn't say that it does happen in some way or another. I don't want it to frighten everybody, but it does. It does. And you learn so much. And I've been around a long time. All of you out there that are going to go into faculty positions, I want you to keep an open mind and know how you can make things differently, because that's what we want. We want to be unique. I know in the beginning it's hard to be that way, but you can try. So I just needed to make a comment that you will survive and be as old as I am and still be teaching.
Yes, and we're going to try to give some tips here in a little bit too, so that forewarned is kind of forearmed, and so knowing that we wouldn't want anybody to start and have this be a total surprise. We have a chat question here from Marianne. I don't know if it went to everybody or just to me, but Marianne wants to know, Valera, 4 different courses. And was 4 different, and how many sections in each course did you have to deal with?
in four different courses. Section each in 4 different courses, yeah.
Okay. So in other words, that's 4 different
subjects. Yes.
Yes.
Now, that's a little bit unusual. Normally, we might teach 3 different courses, but have 4 sections, if you will. You might have 2 sections of one class.
Right.
It depends really on the need of the department at the time, and it's based on that.
Right.
But that is not usually the typical. But that was a bit unusual. But does happen.
Yeah. And I do think that in 3 or 4 courses a semester, when you're not on a tenure track or having release time from a grant or something, 4 sections, would be considered, at least at my school, a typical workload. And then sometimes there's reductions, and it's nice if there's the luxury of having a reduction for somebody who's teaching for the first time. But I think, Marianne, to answer your question, yes, you can expect it if you're work time that the full-time teaching load is 12 credits.
12 credits, yes, but what happens is, and I don't know about other institutions, typically that's only 3 different courses with 2 sections in one course.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of difference I had. There were actually 4 totally different courses.
Okay. And then, Andrea Taylor, you have a question for us?
Professor Hassab?
Hi, Andrea.
Hi. I have a question for you in regards to your research position. Are you currently working full-time at the hospital also? And
No.
Okay.
No, I'm per diem nurse researcher at the Somerset Medical Center, and my hours are very, very flexible. I make my own hours. It's a per diem position.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, other questions? Okay, good. See, when you finish, Andrea and Mary, lower your hand so we don't get confused, or I don't get confused about who wants to ask a question.
That was Mary again, though. I'd like to give 2 tips.
Sure.
Is to ask the questions they have. Don't walk around the park wondering about anything. You seem like, oh, geez, I should know this, but you shouldn't. You weren't born a faculty member, and you should know. Pretty soon you'll learn who's the right person to ask, but just ask the question, whatever it is. other thing, when you talk about having 4 different courses, one thing that you also need to remember is that, and I say this with tongue in cheek, but you only need to be 10 minutes ahead of the students. Some people say a half hour. You don't have to know the whole course when you walk in there. You just have to be a little bit ahead. And if you get questions that are, asking about long-term things, you can defer those questions. And you can say, well, back to that. Let's focus on this. So
we're so type A. We have to know everything and be perfect.
Absolutely not.
Good points, Mary. Yeah, thanks. It kind of leads here in how to deal with the part of the job that are the challenges. And you do need to understand the culture and the org structure of the school. And you can get the org structure, how that gets meant to you in the orientation, or you can ask for it or get it figured out. But the culture, you want to kind of tippy-toe in and get things figured out, ask the questions like Mary's suggesting, and, kind of lay of the land before you bounce in and start wanting to influence changes and, do crazy things. So be sure you kind of have the lay of the land. And like all organizations, there's an informal and a formal structure. And I think that kind of goes to Mary's point about you want to ask questions, but, be savvy about who you're asking them of. So, kind of lay of the land of where the informal leaders and who you can trust and so on. And also you have to understand the official reporting channels, and we're going to probably have some examples of that's important, because if you're having concerns or issues or things that you need the person to whom you report to know about, you need to know who that is, and so that you're going through channels. I mean, this is Nursing Admin 101, practical kinds of stuff. But another point I want to make about the culture is I think you have been working in nursing service before. There in schools of nursing and academic life is different. And the same way, if we've been teaching and we're walking into a nursing service setting, the cultures there are different. And the literature really talks a lot about that, and I've given you some of those articles, how different that the school of nursing culture is. And, when I watch my friends who come from nursing service over to teach with us, they're amazed at some of the things that we do. So you want to be sure that you're kind of getting a handle on how things work. So that's kind of a little tip here to think about, to integrate what Mary just said to you. And then I think else that you can do at the beginning to kind of help you get grounded is to understand the entire curriculum, and what you get a copy of that, or even before you start working, you can probably go online and get review mission and the purpose of the curriculum and all those, the overview, so that you are fitting in the courses that you're fitting in with. And I think you're staying 10 minutes ahead of the students. You kind of need to know where they're coming to from, what courses they had before. What are they going to have afterwards? Because maybe if you're teaching Med-Surg 1 and there's a Med-Surg 2 that follows, you don't have to teach everything. You can understand where some of the other kinds of things are going to come. And another thing that, for me, the student policies, I end up pulling them up just when I need them, and maybe even after I should have read them ahead of time. But familiarize yourself with what the students are supposed to be doing and what your role in helping them implement these policies, particularly the policies that have to do with academic honesty and with student behavior and some of these kinds of things that we now need to be mindful of. So that would be some tips and strategies to be thinking ahead a little bit. And we did a great job giving you some tips about resources. The library is great, helping the students. Have a student advising department, and maybe some of the issues that you're having with the students are things that should be referred to the advisors. Those administrative assistants, like I said, they know everything, and you would want to be sure that you were buddies with them and have them help you and so on. your camp resources, the teaching center that Blair mentioned that Kane has, most campuses have something similar. Sometimes it's even within the school. And then for sure have a mentor or some kind of a resource person that you can go to. And you guys have mentors and resource people that you've been working with. There's no reason why they can't, if they're willing, continue on with you in that role as well. But, find somebody within the organization. We're going to talk just a minute more about that, too. So, some other suggestions here, kind of getting a jump start and, not walking into the organization without the heads up. So here's just a little career challenge to see if we can put some of these principles together. And Tonya, can you pop up the polling questions, and you guys get ready to put your cursor on answers. Okay, there they are. And remember, these polling questions, we haven't done them for a while, but there's the answers. So here's the situation. We have a faculty who has a dual position, works in the hospital and in school, and wanted to assign the students to use DAs. The students want to do this. They get upset about it, and they report to the course leader. Tell the leader the he's making them do this. And so the course leader brings this, up to the new faculty member. So when the new faculty is discussing this with the course leader, what should the nurse educator do here? Tell the course leader that PDAs is a good thing and will help students. The course leader, why would the students be so upset? Ask them to integrate this technology into the curriculum, what would work to get the PDAs in, or go to the department chair and discuss the whole problem. So go ahead and make your vote. And I'll give just a minute or two here, and then we'll show the results. So this is not, the question that is here discussion. Maybe not so much that we're going to have one exact answer, but there is one that's probably better than others. So we're just kind of using this as a springboard to discuss it a little bit. So let's reveal the answers here. Tonya, can you show us how many people were choosing which answer? Okay, we've ended the poll, and pretty soon we're going to show results. Okay. So, here's what, I guess that, I mean, everybody can see this, but it looks like most of you, 50% answer C, but ask what's the best way to integrate. And someone wanted to discuss it with a department chair, and some of it, first answer, tell them, just let the course leader know that PDAs. Well, I agree with those of you that thought C was the most effective approach, because I think particularly somebody who's working in nursing service and knows that PDAs are, part of the real world of practice, that, that it's a realistic kind of thing that to be implemented. And probably to talk it through with the course leader and ask, yes, the students are upset about this, but how can we go about doing it? And maybe the course leader then is in the position to try to give some positive suggestions. Go around the course to the department chair. That probably is not following, the ABCs of reporting through the channel. So, usually something like this is try to get out with the course leader, and my suggestion would be not to ruffle feathers early on. If the course leader says, don't do it, I'm not sure that I would. I carefully before I went on up through the chain of command to somebody else. And asking why the students would be upset, that would be good information, and certainly having in the discussion, and the course leader know about how PDAs are used in practice probably would be a good idea too. So, anybody want to make any more comments or suggestions about handling this kind of a situation? And Tonya, if you can put the poll down, then I can see if we have people who are wanting to ask questions or make comments. And, again, this is kind of reinforcing the notion of the culture, how to go through the channels, some of the things that you might be faced with if you have experience. And all of you, all the scholars, have, learned a lot of new things and are going to be wanting to integrate them. And often, the students get a little fussy if you're asking them to do something besides sit in class and listen. So, comments or questions? And Ty, I have to do something to get this polling down. Anyway, if somebody has a question, just do unmute and ask. I'll just wait for that. Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and move on next slide. Here's another one. Already. We'll do this one. Here's another career challenge. And so, Tonya, we have another polling question to put up. This thing that happened to a friend of mine, just who had been working in nursing service for years and years, and she came over full-time to work for us at the School of Nursing. And she had the experience of what expectations were for performance in nursing service and failed the student in the clinical course and wanted to appeal the failing grade. And that the department chair told the faculty that she was going to support the faculty during the appeal process and to go ahead and to fail the student, sorry. So, what should the educator do in this situation? Fail the student, go through the appeals process with the student, negotiate remedial work, and then pass the student, or pass the student. So here are some options here. Again, this came from a real life experience this last year, first year faculty, with lots of years experience. So we'll give a minute or two to answer the question. So some options here, fail the student as the faculty member indicated, wanted to. The other thing is to go through the appeals process and see what happens, negotiate some remedial work, or just go ahead and pass the student as the department chair. So, if you can show us the answers, we'll see how we did here. I'm assuming that, or we're ending the poll. We'll go ahead and see what we ended up with. Okay. Well, looks like we had and half shows to negotiate the remedial work and pass the student. And that's the answer that I had in mind was probably the best option here. This kind of gives the faculty members some satisfaction that a little bit of remedial work has taken place, and then the student is passed, and that satisfies the department chair. And, I'll just say that the question is dealing with several things. One is knowing about the policy about, doing clinical performance appraisal and what the student's rights are for grieving and appealing grades. And it also has to do with understanding the org structure and the complexity of a nursing school, because sometimes there's more little and other implications of some of the actions that faculty want to take, and to be mindful of what's going on in the larger context. So it was dealing with a couple of things. So to me, the most satisfying of difficult situation is option 3. And some of you, see, nobody picked just to go ahead and pass the student, and nobody picked to go ahead and pick the student, but some of you wanted to go through the appeals process. And certainly is an option, and it's faculty are the the decision maker about whether students pass or fail, and the administrators are there to facilitate. And when you make a decision that goes against what the org structure is going to support, you are more or less left not as much support as you might to have. And if you go all the way through with the appeals process to see, what happens, you have to know that you're doing it more or less on your own. But it's certainly an action that you can choose. What happened here in real life is, my friend, she did, work with the student and try to, get some of the things remediated, and then ended up passing the student. So, again, that's a challenge, just another, something that happens, but again, being aware of what the implications of your teaching are, how you need to fit within the organizational structure, and how you need to understand the policies and procedures as they work. So, any comments or questions on this? Okay. Well, then we'll, just again, something for you to think about, something for you to discuss. And
Diane, it's Michelle Skyber. I had a quick question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Why would why department chair not support the faculty? Like, what would be the reasons? That's the failure of the student.
Okay. Sometimes, if the faculty has not done everything along the way that ironed about evaluating the student, letting the student know from day one that things weren't going well, that all the documentation was clear, that the university attorney had been notified early on, or if the student, was making noise, that the student, had an attorney, and sometimes the effort of dealing with a situation like this and the risk if the student, the remedial work can be accomplished, and be some safety of the, make sure that the student is safe enough to pass. Then sometimes those trade-offs need to be.
Oh, okay.
Gives you a good enough answer, but there's pictures of where does this all go? Who all is going to have to be involved? Is the effort to go through an appeals process, is it going to be worth the time and the expense? Because the school, then have expensive, bring the university attorney for, maybe not a budget expense, but it's a time expense. So I don't know, anybody else want to comment on why sometimes there's bigger pictures here, why we don't, why we take this course of action? Good question, though. It kind of goes to being sure that the faculty understand, what's going on and how to do clinical performance appraisal. Maybe the department chair felt that this new faculty member had, had not been notified early enough that to be able to intervene earlier in the semester. What part of the notion of you're dealing with students that are, not progressing as you would like, it kind of goes back to Mary's point. Ask ahead early on, what am I doing? What should I be doing? Being in touch here with the department chair or the course leader that there's problems, and maybe that happens.
It's like a lot of documentation that you have to do, and just making sure that you're on top of the student if you think they are failing.
Yes, exactly, and communicating with the department chair that this is not going right with the student, and that you're seeing these things, and maybe sometimes the department chair can give you advice, but also the university attorney likes to be brought in way before the appeal starts. The students start to appeal. If you can, get the evidence early that something's not going right, because they want to know early on, and they want to be sure that the faculty is doing everything right as it goes through.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any other comments or questions? And we're not wanting to. Gary,
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Kim Blue. I'm sorry, I had my hand up too, and
I'm sorry.
I think you explained it very well. But I know that in teaching some of our scholars, this is an area when you're very new, you're sort of shuddering in fear. There's two processes taking place in the case example, the way I see it. Maybe just to clarify this particular case study, and one is an organizational appeal process, and if indeed the student was given a grade at the end of their clinical, as it were, that summative evaluation, hopefully the faculty, the educator, would have seen some weaknesses in this individual, and so halfway, formatively, would put into place some kind of a performance improvement plan. We've talked about that among our scholars, that is sort of what happens. And then if the student doesn't meet whatever those competencies or objectives or skills and they're deemed unsafe, obviously a failure is more than appropriate. Now, there's another level here is where the department chair comes in. In some stems, when you're working on a team or in certain courses, you're part of a level or a team. Obviously, I would expect the educator who you're a novice educator, you will be more in touch with the level coordinator, I guess, the team leader, I suppose, in some systems, and say, listen, this student, I don't know what to do with them, or I did this and I did that, and how do I help them, kind of thing. But usually, I think by the time it's ended, the course, and a failure, I don't understand how the department chair gets involved, but I guess that's another system. But I wanted to clarify that as an educator, you need to know the policies, and as Mary said earlier, ask. I hope not. I didn't confuse anybody, but just to try to clarify that.
Yeah, no, that clarifies, and again, it also is who do you report this to, and in this instance, department chair is the first line of reporting.
Okay, got it.
But if it is a course leader or to whoever, I think scholars to know, they need to know who do they talk to first about any of these issues, and to start the talk, even if you're not. Even if you are wondering whether you should.
Right.
Thanks. And Mary, I think you had your hand up too. Do you want to make a comment on this? Star 6 to unmute. Mary?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I really don't have anything different to say, but to suggest that it's just the same in service and anemia. If there's a problem, to identify it, you need to involve somebody else. And you have to identify in your workplace who's the right person, but no boss wants to be surprised about these things.
Right.
I think that we, as faculty members, sometimes forget how significant a failure is to a student. It's really a big deal if you're going to fail a student, whether it's didactic or clinical. So right early on, and that's true of new faculty and faculty and middle-aged faculty, you really need to let people know that you have a problem and how I'm handling it, document everything, what did I do, and keep studying in that loop. Because that's why the attorneys get involved. That's how they make their money. So I want to do that. Yeah. And keep in mind that failing a student is a significant issue.
Yes.
You don't do that if you don't have to.
No. And, to keep the student centered, we're there to help the students, and we want to identify their problems right away so that we can put that performance improvement process right into place so we don't end up like this. But this kind of the extreme of where if things aren't intervened in the steps they should be, where it can all end up. So that's maybe the message here, to be sure that you're communicating and reporting. We'll move ahead here. And I'm going to turn this back over to Valera. So Tonya, if you can give her a ball, and remember there's just a lot of balls to keep in the air and keep balance going. So, Valera, do you have the? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. So, take us away.
Okay, thanks. I think one of the most important things is that you have to know the type of student you are, what kind of a learner you are. You need to plan your time very wisely. I kept the calendar right on the wall by my computer. I marked all of the due dates. I review constantly all of the syllabi of my courses to make sure that my assignments adhere to the course objectives and the requirements. I worked ahead as much as possible. I did not leave anything until the last minute because I found for myself that procrastination really caused a lot of needless anxiety. And if I worked ahead, it really made a big difference. And also, I believe that devoting time each day to work on your studies is important. Setting aside a certain amount of time each day, even if it's an hour, just to do some work and start to get things either organized or underway for you. And then I found, most importantly as well, to set aside some time on the weekend for downtime, just to relax a little bit, or pursue a hobby if you have a hobby that you like to pursue. I love to ride horses, so I had scheduled time on Saturday and Sunday to go up to the stable and time up there just to have a total different perspective and look at things and about work and academia for a moment. So you really need to find that balance, and sometimes it's very difficult to do, but you can do it. And life does interfere when we're going to school. It interferes with everything. And my husband died as I entered the dissertation phase for my doctoral work. So certainly I know what it's like to have life interfere when you're trying to pursue your dream. You have to know yourself. You have to know what you can handle and what you cannot handle. And I remember having a talk with the chair of my dissertation committee. Of course, he would have preferred that I took a leave of absence. And I understand that I really didn't need to take the leave of absence. I said to him that it was my husband's wish that I finish. I'm following his wish as well as my own, and I want to continue. And if I really feel I cannot continue with my studies and do the right thing, then I will let you know. And I was very grateful that he trusted my judgment and allowed me to continue. I was fine. I never stopped, and actually it was a saving factor for me in many respects. So it is very crucial, of course, that you have support of your family or your significant other. That just makes it much more easier for you. Know and accept that you can't do it all, and that some of those non-essential things have to really be put aside, or perhaps one of your family members or significant other might want to pick up the piece. In my case, my husband did before he became, he did the shop, he did the banking, and did some of the errands for me that I just didn't have time to do. So the most important thing is to really focus on completing your degree. Do not give up. Just really keep going ahead no matter what happens, and you can do it. I think this is
I'm going to kind of into this, and you were kind of talking about balance there between, personal life and your busy life as being a teacher and a student, and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about just the balance of the roles that you play at work. Because, and Tonya, you can give me the ball here in a minute, too. So you have these faculty roles that you're trying to implement, as the teacher and as doing service and, doing scholarly work. And let alone everything else in your life, is a lot to balance, too, while you're at work. And so you kind of need to consider that, and I think Valera's, said that you need your balance with your home life too, and you need to put it on your calendar and stick to it. Also, there's many demands on your time from your department chair, from the students, from yourself, from your family, and you need to kind of be when you're going to say no and when you're going to say yes. And if you can get your goals clear, what is your main focus, and I'll talk a little bit more in the next slide about that, easier to kind of get everything aligned. And we've talked about that even in terms of doing research, that you want your teaching, your research, and your service all to fall into place so you're not being set, but that you're being synergistic with what you're doing. So we'll kind of move here. I just call that working smarter, not harder. So when you're trying to decide, are you going to be on a committee, or are you going to write an article, you want to be sure that you know what your goals are and how they can overlap, and you can get more than one thing done at a time. So if you're doing an interesting teaching strategy in your class, and then you can go ahead and write about it, and you can serve on the teaching strategies committee of the curriculum committee, then you're doing three things that achieve your goal of doing better teaching. Another work tip here is double dip, I call it. Never, for myself, try not to do anything that I can't get two or three things done with it. So if I'm having to write a paper for school, I try to use that information in the class that I'm teaching, and I'm going to try to get a publication out of it. So, three I can do for you. And another example would be if I'm serving on a committee, I can get the committee members to write up what we did and get a publication, or do a presentation on it, or present it to the faculty, so that there's another value of it. So try to get as much bang for the buck out of the assignments that you're doing. Tip for working smarter is to have templates, yourself, so that you're not having to think of what is the structure or the framework for each thing that I'm doing, and I recycle it. And the one template that I used a lot was the good practices of education, and I used that in my teaching, and I used it in my writing, and I used it as the framework for my research. So, so that you can recycle things and kind of keep them moving forward, you don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. So, kind of get your area of expertise and recycle. When you're trying to decide whether you should say yes or no to a request, again, have your goals in mind, and then you try to think of, is this going to lead to something that I can get an outcome from? Will presentation come from this? Can I do something about writing it up? Will serving on this committee help me meet some people that I can network with that will help me do something? So think in terms of most of what you're doing in terms of outcomes, and not make everything feel like it's an extra, but that it's synergistic with where you're going. Another tip is to work in teams. You're doing teaching. Sometimes team teaching is effective. Curriculum, doing curriculum work, that's certainly a teamwork effort. If you're certainly writing, collaborating and working with others, you can, and even doing your research projects, the more, when you can take things up and assign everybody to a common goal, goes faster for everybody. And again, be strategic and keep thinking we're going to try to have it all be synergistic, so you're not working harder than you need to be, but that everything's falling into place and producing some outcomes. So I'll say that, and then we have another career challenge here, and a polling question. So now we have a educator who's in the second semester of a 3-year contract as a clinical teacher, and this educator is teaching 4 clinical sessions, 8 hours each. That's for clinical teaching, and again, that's in my setting. That's a realistic assignment. At the same time, reappointment and advancement requires demonstration of scholarship. And, there's just a time in the day to do all of this. And so this educator has not started doing scholarly work. But the department chair, as it often happens because they're responsible for getting all the work done, is they've asked this faculty member to do one more clinical section this semester. And educator should, say yes, ask for deferment of the scholarly work that's part of the tenure or, the contract as well, or discuss with the department chair options for meeting department needs and faculty needs, so there's a balance. So the three options here: say yes, ask for dual bargaining, and ask to have the requirement of the scholarly work postponed, or how this can everybody's needs can be met. We'll give you a minute or two to select your answer. Well, probably everybody has, so Tonya, we can close the poll and you can show us the results. And again, it goes to, balancing your work and meeting needs of the organization while meeting your own needs, meeting the needs of your contract. We'll see how everybody answered this question. Okay, and of those of you that answered, it looked like everybody answered C, or 3, which is, certainly of these options, the one that's desirable, because there's going to be, the conflicts to this. A lot of work that needs to be done. The faculty member also needs to meet expectations in all three areas besides the teaching, also the scholarship and the be able to discuss this with the department chair so that everybody's needs are met. Sometimes what happens is the department chair will say, well, if you can cover that for this semester, I'll release you the following semester so that you can have some additional time to be working on your scholarly work. Or other things to be negotiated, such as, some additional for doing some of the scholarly work, research assistant, teaching assistant, secretarial support, those kinds of things. So any comments or questions about this challenge?
Diane, I just have one comment about, I think the producing scholarly work is just one of the challenges that is apparent. I know that at Kane we are encouraged, if possible, to apply for release time in what is called either an untenured faculty award, or if someone is tenured, of course, tenured faculty award for research, and you would just do an application proposal, submit that, and see if you can get some release time in addition to a little bit of funding to conduct projects. But I think it really is a challenge, and I was thinking when you were talking about double dipping, that very often sometimes we do presentations, and we can also sometimes have that presentation turn that into an article. So,
absolutely.
So, that's a good example of double dipping and really trying to meet your scholarly work. But I think, really making the time for that scholarly work is so, it is challenging, but, it's publish or perish. And that is the direction that almost every university is moving into, whether they're really strictly research focused or not. It's we're moving in that direction.
Exactly, and so that's why we need to be synergistic. And then another negotiating point that the faculty here in this scenario could do is to say, well, I'd like to have a clinical section where I can get some more data for the article that I'm writing.
Right.
Lemon out of that lemon if it's going to happen.
Right. Turn it around to your advantage.
Yes, exactly.
But that's what we nurses are good at doing, being creative and flexible.
Right. Okay, we have about a half hour left. I'm going to move us ahead unless somebody else has a burning question or comment. So raise your hand if you do, and we'll call you. Otherwise, I'm moving ahead here. And I think, we got another. Well, let's just do this quick one too. Tonya got another career challenge here. Okay, kind of the same line here. We've newly appointed a master's prepared faculty full time. Has been asked to participate in a research project about simulations, but this teacher working in the learning lab has a week, 6 hours teaching responsibility on 4 of the 5 days. So in this situation, opportunities come up here. Should the master's prepared faculty say yes and try to get it worked into the load? Ask to say, no, I can't do it this year, but I'll do it next year when I'm a little more experienced with what I'm doing, because, again, this is the first year appointment. Or tell whoever's asking them that, the doctorate degree is priority, and I don't know anything about research, and I'm going to get my doctoral degree before I do anything here. So what should the educator do in this situation? I'll give you a little 2 seconds here to answer this. You guys are working quickly, so I'm going to ask Tonya to close poll and show us the results. Okay, and about it, said to say yes and negotiate it or integrate it into the workload, and that's kind of what I thought was a good approach to do, because these opportunities to participate in research don't come along every year, and it seems like it would be easy enough to integrate into the workload. It's going to be taking place right while the person's teaching, and then this is kind of the double dip concept. You're teaching and you're doing research. So, and then from that, of course, the article comes. It's all scholarly work. So I would agree with those of you that would take on and move forth. But again, this is individual, and if I guess this faculty member didn't feel like they were on top of what they were doing with their teaching, to ask if they could do it later. And probably that's not a risky thing to do, because whoever's asking them probably would understand that they're a new faculty and maybe they're not quite ready. So I don't think much is lost there. And then I don't think anybody said, I can't do it, I need to get my doctoral degree first. And usually, participating in research like this, you're initiating the study and you're not the PI, you're just participating. So the master's prepared faculty certainly are able to do scholarly work and to participate in research studies. So there we go. Okay, now I'm going to move us ahead because I'm talking too much. Next topic, switching gears here. Mentors. I'm going to do this quickly because I think many of you've had great experiences of being a mentor. And, why should you do it? Particularly this first year of your appointment, to be sure that you've got somebody, and I think it's helpful to have somebody, inside of the organization to help you so you can learn the role and, have help with the ins and outs of the org structure. And certainly, long run, a mentor can help you with your career. And way back at the beginning, when we were at the annual meeting, and Angela McBride talked to you about your career, having a mentor to help you in the long haul is important too. Professional development and having that mentor there that can help you. You can discuss kinds of things and help you so that you're feeling supported and not isolated. So it's a good thing. And there's all kinds of mentors, for helping you with clinical, and having a good mentor in that situation of the clinical performance appraisal, that could have offset a lot of that agitation if somebody was there, side by side with that faculty member. Research mentor, teaching mentor, term, and certainly all the mentoring can happen too at a distance, picking up the phone, email, and now we do some online. There's online mentoring too. So the schools that you're going to be working at will have formal mentoring programs, and somebody will be assigned to you. and others to do the informal. There's kind of pros and cons. The formal, they're kind, but they're really helping the needs of the organization too, so that we don't end up with situations like my friend was left in, where she wanted to fail the student but was told not to. So all that could have been prevented. And there's clear outcomes of what this mentoring is all about. But if you don't have a mentor assigned to you and it's not a mentoring program at your school, certainly you're free to select one. And there, if somebody's really helping you focus on your needs, and there's, of course, outcomes, and you can have more than one mentor. And, I would get in a relationship with as many people as you can that can be helpful to you. And so many. And the pros and cons, having somebody outside of the organization where you can kind of vent and they can step back and aren't vested in it is helpful. But and two, having somebody who works in the organization and can guide you and help you prevent pitfalls, that's great too. So have as many. How to find one? First of all, you have to know what your needs are, and you can ask around. Who would be a good one for you? Network around. Look about. Consider strengths and limitations of whoever you're considering, and then ask them. And then there's the whole, literature about how to define the relationship and the stages and so on. That's another discussion we'll have, and we'll do one on that. But you have responsibilities too. So particularly if you're in a mentor-mentee relationship now and you're going to maintain it, you have responsibilities to keep the communication going, to make them more proud of you for all the good work that you're doing, to set the times for meetings and so on, and to just you have to have some responsibilities too to keep the relationship going. Okay, and we've got a career challenge here, a quick one. So sometimes this happens too, that the department chair is assigned the mentor to a new faculty member. The mentor hasn't contacted the faculty for 3 months. So what should the educator do? Discuss with the department chair, contact the mentor, find another one, or wait another month to see if the mentor initiates the meeting. So there's your polling questions. And again, together are lots of things we've talked about: understanding the culture, understanding your needs, understanding lines of communication. So, Tonya, I think we'll close the poll. I'm thinking everybody's working fast now. So we'll see the results show. Okay, and I think it looks like most people said contact the mentor, and I think, yeah, that's probably the best approach. Mentors get busy, and time marches on, so I think it's perfectly fine for the mentee to go ahead and contact the mentor and be ready with questions and identify the needs and set the meeting time. You probably don't want to find another mentor, particularly since the mentor has been assigned to you. You may have another one, and you certainly can, get some of these met by talking to other faculty members or other mentors. But you want to, this is a part of the org structure, so you want to kind of stay within that. And again, for those of you that wanted to discuss the department chair, probably your first line is to deal with it at the lowest level possible, and that would be to, deal directly with the mentor. And then, if something needs further attention and the two of you decide that it needs to be discussed higher up in the organizational structure, then that's fine. Okay, I think got that, and I'm going to move right ahead here so that we can turn this over to Valeria again. And one thing that we wanted to do here, to talk a little bit about pursuing the doctoral degree. And again, this could have been a whole session by itself, but I kind of bundled it in here so that, and I know you guys have been talking about it, but Valeria's just been through it, and has a lot of information for you. And we're all hoping and expecting that you're going to be going on for this degree. So, Valera, you take it away, and Tonya, can you be sure that Valera has the ball? You got it.
Well, yes, thank you. There are a number of different reasons why someone might wish to pursue a doctorate. One might be just to further one's own education, or perhaps to understand a particular phenomenon in a particular field, or maybe to enter academia and obtain a tenure-track position, a personal desire to contribute to the discipline of nursing, and just a personal desire in general just to obtain that PhD. So there are many motivational factors. Which program is right for you, and that's probably one of the most important things, is to find the program fit for you, because not every doctoral program will be necessarily the right fit for you. Again, going back, you need to know yourself as a student. What type of student are you? Do you really need traditional classroom, or can you function very well online? Because there are a lot of online programs as well that are very, very good. Do you want a PhD, Doctor of Philosophy, which is the academic doctorate? It is the terminal degree, and it is primarily focused on nursing research and theory development. Or do you want a DNSC, Doctor of Nursing Science, which is a clinical doctorate, very comparable to PhD in that there is a research component to that, but it's more of a clinical focus. Or nursing practice, which is for APNs. It's practice-focused versus a clinical focus. Not a lot of programs offer that. University of Colorado does, and it was developed back in 2004 by Columbia University. And now, of course, the program that has become very popular is the Doctor of Nursing Practice. And again, for APNs, it's a clinically focused doctorate. It's grounded in a specialty focus. And of course, the difference is that it requires a capstone project versus a formal dissertation as one would have in the PhD or DS. So some of the major differences between the practice-focused and research-focused doctors are, in practice-focused, there's much less emphasis on theory and meta-theory. There is considerably less research methodology content. There is a focus on evaluation and use of research versus the conduct of research. And there are, of course, different dissertation requirements. And for the practice doctorate, it has to be grounded in clinical practice, which is, of course, designed to inform practice. And so there's no dissertation. There would be a thesis or a capstone project. And again, as I said, the emphasis is on practice. There is clinical practical or residency requirements. And the emphasis on scholarly piece would be practice improvement or innovation and testing of interventions and care delivery models, evaluation of health outcomes, and expertise to inform policy and leadership in establishing clinical practice.
So,
yes.
Can I interrupt just a minute? Because
Sure.
I see that one of the faculty members has her hand raised, and I don't know if she had a question or wanted to clarify a point. Claire Donahue, do you want to make a comment?
I did the Star 6 at the same time. I wanted to clarify that the DNP is not just for nurse practitioners. There is a leadership track as well in many of the programs, including one that we're starting in the fall at William Patterson University.
Right,
and
sorry, I did admit that, yes.
The other aspects are absolutely correct. The new terminology for the project that the DNP student does in culmination seems to be practice dissertation is the theme that Ken brought back from the DNP conference in California, that seems to be the terminology that seems to be evolving with this new program. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
So the application process is usually fall. It's a once-a-year entry. You need to be very aware of application deadlines. So if you're planning or really thinking about entering a doctoral program following your graduation, you can plan accordingly. Usually the application deadlines range from December to February, but you really need to allow adequate time to obtain all of your transcripts, letters of recommendation, which sometimes take some time to obtain because professors are busy, and there may be, a time period where you might have a slight delay in getting those. In my master's program, did not have to take the GRE. I was able to take the Miller analogy test, but for entry into doctoral programs, you need to take the GRE exam. I would say for the majority of the programs. At one time, there were some programs that maybe didn't require that, but when there are a tremendous number of applicants, one of the ways to really weed out applicants, if you will be the GRE exam. Sometimes they look at that the GRE scores to determine factor. Again, it depends on the institution. All have specific requirements about GRE scores and what they really place a focus on. And some of the requirements also prior to entry into doctoral work might include either 3 to 6 of advanced statistics courses. And they need to be completed before you actually enter into the doctoral program. That was one of the requirements. So I had at Duquesne University, and of course I had to take the GRE. Very interesting. When I applied for doctoral study, I applied to more than one program, and I probably do discuss that on the other slide, but this is sort of a segue into it. I think I applied to about 4 or 5 other programs, and almost every other program, including Columbia, NYU, University of Connecticut, University of Rhode Island, focused very heavily on that GRE math score. Duquesne University did not. When I took the GRE, I guess it was about 6 years ago now, they incorporated a writing component, and it was sort of an independent piece. There was nothing you could study for. You were given a couple of scenarios and had to write whatever they needed you to do. Duquesne University placed a very strong emphasis on that because they believed that the doctoral program was writing and research. And so they felt if you were going to be doing quantitative study, certainly you needed to know statistics, but you would be working with a statistician as well. So they were more concerned about whether you had the ability to write or not. So they had very high emphasis on that writing component. And amazingly, I got a perfect score, so they were thrilled with that. We were the first ones to offer the acceptance, and I said yes. And then also, you need to prepare a personal statement as to why you want to pursue doctoral study and what is your contribution or your intended contribution to nursing going to be. Of course, all of the institutions determine the type of candidate and the factors that they feel are most important for success in your program. One of the things which I may not have mentioned here is that when you apply to a program, you really want to look and see what faculty's areas of expertise and research are, because you will probably be aligned with that particular person. For example, if your focus is in maternal child, and there's someone on faculty that has done extensive studies in child or depression, something along those lines, that would be, really very, very beneficial for you. You can also speak with the director of the program ahead of time and discuss the program and the requirements of the program, and they're usually very, very willing to do that. I know Elizabeth Norman at NYU spent a lot of time speaking to me, and she was very gracious about her time. And as I said, of all factors being equal, the GRE scores may be the determining factor for acceptance, and certainly when I applied to Rutgers, they were. And again, I mentioned about the analytical writing piece of the GRE. Also, what I found in my application to the 5 different universities, that knowing one's focused area of research or area of interest, I should say, prior to study was really required. They wanted you to really know, and perhaps even your master's work might have been somewhat of a precursor to what you might follow in the doctoral program, but all wanted you to have pretty much a very solid idea of what you wanted to do. Of course, that very much might change as you entered into the program, the doctoral program, and began to take courses and so forth. I really focused on exploring postpartum depression in Latina. It had been my master's project. And however, I end up studying Mexican American women, but I looked at the cultural context of the postpartum period in Mexican American. The advisor said one doesn't even know if postpartum depression exists in Mexican American women, so we have to explore qualitative perspective. Somewhat similar, but still changed a bit. Some institutions actually, such as NYU, when I applied there, required a record of publication. They wanted presentations. They wanted you to obtain some grant funding, but this was not a concern at certainly Duquesne University or University of Rhode Island or UConn. But NYU wanted really all that, plus a leadership role, perhaps in an organization, a national organization. So the bottom line was, for me, I was discouraged. I knew eventually someone would accept me, and when I had my interview, my oral interview with a faculty member at Duquesne, and I was saying, I'm so discouraged, I'm never going to get in. And she said something to me which just remains with me forever. She said, maybe those programs are not the right fit for you. And it turned out she was absolutely correct. I was accepted at Duquesne University. A very interesting thing about Duquesne, I will add, is that Duquesne had a traditional online PhD program. Actually, it's the benchmark for online doctoral programs in the United States. They were the first to present their doctoral program online and extremely successful. And so I'm very excited to be a part of that program. And it was the absolute right fit for me. So apply to a number of different institutions. Don't be discouraged if you're rejected from 3 or 4. That's the way that it is. Just one acceptance. And as I said, just have the perspective that the fit was not right for you. And you'll be where you are meant to be. I had to really submit a lot of written work to sort of justify my desire to be in the doctoral program and my qualifications. I had to submit a copy of my master's work. And of course, what I didn't realize at the time, or maybe I did, I guess I did in the master's program, that because I was already looking to apply to the doctoral program, the doctoral programs required work that was solely authored. They didn't want to see, at that time for me, I don't know if it's the same requirement now, but they did want to see work that you had done that was solely authored, not a group project. And again, I did mention that. In terms of funding doctoral education, there is a lot of money out there for you, and there are a lot of resources. Duquesne has been wonderful in really helping students find all of those resources for funding. Diane mentioned there is NJNI funding. There are Stafford subsidized and unsubsidized federal loans, meaning you either pay back the interest right away, or deferred, or you don't pay it. The nurse faculty loan is phenomenal. And I certainly applied for that. Very, very low interest rate. If you agree to work in a faculty position for X number of years, 85% of your loan is paid back. There is dissertation grant funding out there for you based on perhaps organizations, state of Tau. I belong to the Transcultural Nursing Society. I was funded twice by them for a total of $4,000. I received a grant sponsored by the chair of my committee in honor of his mother, the Carmela Zuha Doctoral Dissertation Funding Award, and I think I received one other award from Epsilon Phi, chapter of Duquesne University. I received a couple of $1,000 there. Payback requires that I present for them. I present for the Transcultural Nursing Society probably this year in Las Vegas. Of course, I have to pay the expenses, but that's okay. I get to present my findings, and they have first rights on publication of my dissertation was really nice. So I don't have to round. I'll submit it to them, and hopefully they'll say yes and get that presented. And I do have to present to the honor society as well. If you are planning on doing any kind of a study, by all means, try and receive funding for your dissertation. One of my colleagues belonged to the, I'm not sure what the formal title of her gastrointestinal organization is, but she received funding for her data collection for her study as well. I received a lot of funding, a total of about $6,000, which my chair said was quite good. So by all means, do apply. If you're doing a qualitative study, such as I did, I had to use NVivo qualitative software for data management. That's expensive. There's a learning curve that I would suggest if you're going to do that. Learn that way in advance. I took a program to learn that. Still, I had to work with a consultant. Very expensive. So keep in mind, mine was a transcultural study. I needed to work with interpreters. Expensive. I needed to use a transcription agency. There was some issue with some discrepancy in translations between the interpreter and between two interpreters, I should say. I had to have it verified, and so I had to spend $3,000 to the transcription agency to make sure everything was absolutely translated and interpreted correctly. All of this adds up to big bucks, and you can obtain funding. So things to really think about that I didn't know ahead of time. But be persistent. It pays off. Do not get discouraged. You can do it. And it's a phenomenal feeling. And most importantly, and I didn't realize this, but a very respected Kane University colleague of mine who has the PhD in another discipline, who's become a great mentor, said you are now 1/10 of 10% of those who achieve a PhD. So you, Sal, are going to be part of the elite. So that's a good thing for all of us to really think about and focus on. It's an exciting and thrilling means. Do not be discouraged. The future leaders.
I love hearing all these tips, and they resonate with me even after all these years. So the best. Oh, well, here's a quick challenge. But then I think the best use of our time is for people to ask questions of Val. So here's a situation. We got a faculty member who has a master's degree as a nurse practitioner, and faculty wants to seek a tenure track position at a research-intensive institution. And the faculty is considering, several doctoral programs, just like Val told you about. So, Educator consider only the DNP programs? Should the faculty apply to a PhD program? Or third, determine appointment requirements at research-intensive schools. So take a quick pick here, and we'll have a little short discussion, and then think of your questions for Valera, and we'll wrap up that. Tonya, I think we can close the poll. And, there's many choices of these doctoral programs, and we're still on the School of Nursing side trying to figure out, what the appointment process is. You heard Laura say that at Kane that the PhD is the preferred degree for a tenure-track position, and maybe a tenure-track position isn't what you personally are seeking, and, that, and the appointment criteria for clinical appointment. Okay, let's see. Looks most of you elected to look at the appointment requirements at the research-intensive schools. And to me, that probably is the most practical thing to do. If you're hard set on having a tenure-track position at a research-intensive school, you would want to know, is the only appointment criteria to be a doctoral degree? And if that's where you're hard to set, that's probably what you should do. And those of you that said, you can apply directly to a PhD program, maybe that's, it's probably an equally good answer. But if you are a nurse practitioner and you want to get the DNP, but some schools may accept that as a tenure track appointment. So you really need to kind of know the requirements. But if you know going and a doctoral program is right for you, then go ahead. Probably since it's only DNP, I do believe that most of the research-intensive institutions are searching, for the doctoral, the PhD prepared person. So
that's the key, research-intensive.
Yeah. So that kind of tips that answer to 3. So let's have some questions here. We can probably have a little 5 more minutes here before we wrap up. So the best use of this day is to get as much information from Valera and see what you want to say, or if any of the faculty want to add something. So Elizabeth, I see your hand up. I'll call on you first. So unmute your line if it's muted, *6. Arnold.
Elizabeth, can you hear?
Yes, go ahead.
Professor Haskell, I was wondering, you said that most PhD programs are looking for work that individually does, and I noticed that in my graduate program specifically, a lot of our work is group work. How do you suggest that we go out to some things that are group work?
Well, I think it depends on what the requirements are of the doctoral program to which you're applying, as to whether they will accept group work as an example or not. Now, my master's program, we also did have group work, but I was researching the different doctoral programs because I realized pretty early on that that's where I wanted to go. I went to my advisor in the master's program, and I said, they're asking for solely authored work. Can I do the project by myself? And she said yes. So there were several of us that had done the project alone, others that had done group projects. And I know even in my own teaching of students, there are some that want to do the project alone, some want to do group, and that's fine, whichever they want to do. So it really depends on the doctoral program as to what their requirements are.
Another suggestion would be is if you could, brag or underline or highlight your contribution to that joint effort. That might satisfy. And now a lot of the value is on teamwork and collaboration.
Right.
So if you can spin it around and say, well, I can do work on my own, and I could handle directing my own work, but I can also play on a team. So you could spin it. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Good question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Questions? Again, thinking Valera might be available if any of you wanted to talk to her, on the side, or, if you're at a meeting, be sure to introduce yourself to her and so on. So, faculty, do you have any other final thoughts here about the doctoral degree? If not, while you're thinking about questions, I'll move ahead and just kind of wrap things up because we're running short here. Just moving forward, developing each role, take the long view, the big picture, take advantage of opportunities, but don't describe yourself. And here's kind of a sequence of develop yourself as a teacher first, then as doing some service and then scholarship. Of course, you know how I feel about those. And, teaching is the best job in the whole world. I love it. You can tell in Valera's voice that she loves it too, and really, it's just lots of fun. Stay away from the people who are not being positive. Great, what about when you're working in nursing service and you see your patient at the end of the day because of your nursing care has changed. The in nursing education are a little slower to come, but powerful. You'll get some really nice, I call them love letters, appreciation from the students. And when you're feeling like you need a little inspiration, go back and reread those. And, really making a big contribution to nursing here by developing competent nurses one student at a time. So, we applaud you for your all you've accomplished these last years, and we're looking forward to calling you colleagues when you come join us in schools of nursing. So, any final comments or questions? Okay, marketing. Be sure that you're looking at following up here with the challenges and opportunities, and urging you all to start doing some research about those doctoral programs. And I'd love for you to stay on here to talk about publication. That's our next session at 3, and then our last session. Oh gosh, I'm going to be there on April 15th. We're meeting at College of New Jersey from 8 to 5 all day. We're going to do a session on SIMS in the morning and team-based learning. We're going to Huh? We're going to so see you then. More to follow. Okay, thanks, Valeria. I really appreciate your contributions. That was great.
No, thank you. It was my pleasure.
Okay.
Everybody. Bye-bye.
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 I'm going to call it quits. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.